First game, we're on Night Market, and we will be seeing Tiger Slasher appearing with Paranor and Viper on crit for Auburn A. And Tiger Slasher, a bit of a known quantity, right?
Yeah, definitely. Tiger Slasher actually subbed for me in a tournament not too long ago. I know Tiger Slasher does have some skill in their name. I'm interested though, because I haven't actually seen the Now goalie at all. So this Now goalie is very fun to play, I'm going to be honest. She's so fun. However, it is also a pick that you don't see too often because she's a bit like Atlas, except she doesn't have any of what Atlas has that makes him good. She doesn't have any like big creations that can just stay there. She has her secondary, she has her primary. So it's a bit interesting of a character to play, but I'm definitely interested in seeing how Tiger Slasher is going to play this. However, we do also have quite a few other players here, and we're going to get straight into the game.
Yeah, I've definitely seen Nats 18, Pewis, and Diamond in various other tournaments before. That's always a good sign, of course, if you're into CCL and you do have that kind of past experience. And right now we're seeing some very calm strikes coming out from Diamond on the defensive end. And of course the Now goalie does have one upside versus the Atlas, and that is speed and mobility, right? Being able to lifeline forward to teammates, maybe find an eject button play without having to take eject button. That's definitely the main strength, and of course speeding up the team, healing the team from range.
Yeah, definitely. But right here we are seeing some of its lack in defense as both of the barriers have gone down. And now we're just seeing Pewis and Nats 18 working together to try and get this core in the net. Something interesting to note though as well is that Nats 18 and Pewis have actually been duo queuing. They played a couple games yesterday, just getting some solo queue matches in, or I guess duo queue in their case. So they're pretty warmed up, I'd imagine. They got some games, and now they're ready to maybe take these core and put it in the net.
Oh, but the damage is overwhelming here, and it will lead to the first KO, and that's why we've seen Centauro have a slightly lower priority in recent times, right? The low stagger bar does mean that you are extra vulnerable to being taken off the map compared to something like an X Viper on the other end, looking very, very healthy, just hitting everybody. But Nat's coming back, and the barriers are still open. Viper's going to have to be on point against this Asher here. Diamond still managing to hold with the pauldrons, not having to worry about the damage as much.
Yeah, and both goalies here do have their flip-up. Diamond gonna have to use that to save the core, but we're gonna see Viper on crit just push it through, doing what X does best. Just taking that core, standing right on top of the other team's goalie, and just putting that core, pushing it straight through. And I think that's gonna be what they're gonna try and do for most of this game. Just get it to Viper, have Viper stand basically on Diamond, and just get this core going through the other team.
Right, looking for a passing play forward now. The corner offense coming through, but one of the downsides of that corner offense is that you expose yourself to a lot of damage as Paranor has to retreat, and the offense fades for Auburn A. They got to find a way to get this barrier here, and the timing's just not there because Diamond and Pewis play the barrier beam, play the defense, but Viper finds a KO in the midst of it all. The chip damage coming through in a big way, and Diamond's low as well. The orb denied, and KOing the goalie's a big win condition here. They don't even need it. They just got the flip.
Yeah, and those flips though, now that they don't have any, this could be pretty dangerous. However, we have seen Viper and Crit didn't need the flip for that first point either. And they've just been able to push it through the other team. So I'm looking to see maybe Viper and Crit just continuing to do what they have been doing and just push the core right through Diamond. Asher goalie is pretty defensive, but if you got an X in your face, it's pretty hard to do too much.
Yeah, just like that, Viper gets it done. The X Maximus makes it happen against Diamond. 3-0 Auburn A, looking good after the first set. And of course, if the X is winning the first set, that is a bad sign for the other team.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're seeing Size, the first of it, fall onto the board. X just in general scales really well with Size, and I think with that heavy impact is going to be pretty dangerous here. We are also going to see a stacks on stacks pickup. Era, not too common in the meta, but if they can get that speed, get that stacks on stacks going, we can maybe see some more speed, maybe some more core control from them. And as well, we also see Nats 18 picking up that big fish, something we didn't see in the previous series. Now you're going to have more stagger to work with against a player like Viper on crit with that X.
they're gone. Pewis finds the perfect NATO, finding both the forwards, and this point is as good as over. All they need is one passing opportunity against Tiger here, who is alone in the net, but finding the strikes, they're sending it to Tiger a little bit too much, and the defense comes through. The 1v3 is saved, and they get away from Pewis as well. Auburn A hold on despite the overwhelming 1v3. Tiger plays the situation perfectly, but oversteps a little bit against Nats, and that will be the goal going in regardless.
That was some incredible defense from Tiger Slasher there. Unfortunately, though, it just wasn't quite enough to handle against the Era and the Zentaro. But, I mean, as you said, that was an incredible tornado. It rendered me pretty speechless for a second there. I made you take over. But, I mean, hey, that was some pretty insane plays from both sides. And I think Pewis is going to be looking to get more of those plays, more of those tornado kills, if as much as possible during the set.
But can't do that when you're off the map. The damage stacks up. Paranor has been very good at focusing with that snipe from Estelle, finding the damage target and making sure they can't regen. And now Diamond looking lonely in the net. Tiger Slasher walking up with the night market speed, playing this now goalie, kind of like an Era goalie in some ways, and with that additional speed has plenty of leeway here, but the flip will KO the other brawler. Tiger Slasher makes it a trade though, and that's a big play to make sure this offense isn't overwhelming coming out from the Rauds. Oh, and Paranor, what an opportunity. That's 1-1 now.
Yeah, I mean, that was... It was looking like a midfield and goalie play kind of there, and I wasn't expecting a whole lot to come out of that, but Paranoia with the incredible lineup just got the core straight past Diamond and Pewis on that defensive line, and now they are looking at a 1-1 in terms of points here, and Viper on crit already getting those barriers open.
Yeah, trying to find another opportunity here. Pewis very, very low, and once again, Paranor putting on the chip damage. Diamond's going to have to defend here and manages to flip it away, but that's a resource gone as Pewis still incredibly low, and Nats trying to win the strike interactions, but the strike primary from now is so powerful. Finally, the barrier will go down, and the Rods will find an opportunity, but not before the midfielder falls once again.
Yeah, and I don't typically see Era midfield too often in this meta, as I've said earlier, but I mean, Pewis is doing super well with Nats to just work on kind of lining that core up, getting it in a great spot for that corner pressure, and just opening up the barriers of Tiger Slasher here in this game. But unfortunately, it's going to be hard to line up pressure when your forward's off the map.
Looking for a dribble now is Paranor down to Viper. They can't link up with the strikes just yet, but the hit stun's perfect from Viper to make sure that barrier falls. This Auburn offense is looking very, very competent right now. Looking coordinated, looking on point, looking to keep possession to the top side, but Tiger Slasher now in a dangerous spot, but they get it past Pewis, and the snipe is so fast, Viper can't get the strike afterwards, but it's still a great play with the bell ringer. A little bit of danger for Tiger Slasher though, but the secondary will interrupt, and now Viper pushing forward once again. Paranor snipe forward. This time Diamond's up there in time, but Viper once again finds the bell ringer into a dribble, into a shot, and another lead for Auburn A.
Yeah, and I've said this a couple times now, but Viper on crit with that size, with that X, is going to have so much pressure on Diamond. Unfortunately, the Asher goalie just doesn't have as much range as you really want to force it through this Viper X here. But, I mean, we are also seeing the size from Viper just pulling out so many offensive opportunities and just getting the core just straight around Diamond.
Yeah, Viper finding the dribbles, finding the flip into the barrier beam though. Great defense by Diamond, and with those pauldrons has a lot of size to work with, but Tiger Slashers making sure the barriers do not even have a chance of falling here, and that's so incredibly low with all of the chip that's coming out from Auburn right now. The shrink is good from Pewis though, trying to win the 1v1. One barrier falling, and Viper in a dangerous spot. Diamond dribbling off the center. Bit of a dangerous spot still for UCF, but they get out of there. The NATO is perfect from Pewis, and the barrier almost taken as well.
Yeah, and this pressure that we're seeing here from Pewis and Nats is really something that we want to keep seeing, because Pewis has had some incredible tornadoes so far, but they just gotta get it through this defensive side from Paranor and Tiger Slasher, and once they can do that, they're gonna be set and golden.
Viper pushing forward once again in the core speed this time means the barrier goes down. Big opportunity for the Rauds here to turn this one around, but the core speed all the way to the other side. Diamond with a good deflection. Paranor looking for an interruption, but denied, and Pewis with a flip will outspeed Tiger Slasher to the top corner there. It's a 0.5 situation and a big opportunity for UCF Rauds to really get it done here.
Yeah, and that first set was looking really strong for the set of Auburn, but here we're seeing Pewis and Nats working really to get well together and just opening up these barriers. But here in 0.5, this is where it all goes down. X has a chance to scale if they win the set, but at the same time we could see Era maybe get Monumentalist, Nats maybe get a Dash Awakening, and this could change the game, flip it on its head, and make this game go so much better for the UCF.
Flip available now. Barrier beam waited out, and a crossfire with Paranor backing up with the snipe shot once again. Tiger Slasher up to Paranor, looking for the passing play to Viper, interrupted by Pewis. Great strike in the midfield coming out from the Era as Nats finds the primary as well. Nats going in once again, deflected away by Tiger Slasher to strike discipline up to Paranor. The passing plays all the way forward, but the snipe barely doesn't connect into the goal here, and the UCF Rauds survive one more point.
Yeah, and we're seeing Tiger Slasher and Auburn just do an incredible job of forcing the damage onto the offensive side of UCF whenever possible. During all of those offensive attacks, we're always seeing damage getting dumped into the forward pressure, and this is doing super well, and is able to just kind of keep the pressure going and keep the goals not scored.
Yeah, Paranor looking for an opportunity here as Viper healed up just in time. Healed up all the way to the unstaggered state. Paranor on the top side looking for a snipe opportunity. We've seen so many from this Estelle, but the core is stuck on the bottom end. So much core speed though, backed up by the sentry drones from Tiger Slasher. Bit of danger here for Viper, but not as much danger as Nats, who's already been taken out in the back of the net. Good clears by Diamond so far, but the top side of the goal is body blocked by the massive X. It's a big set win for Auburn here as they advance to 2-0.
Yeah, Auburn getting that second set, which can prove incredibly useful here. We are going to see some very interesting awakenings here. Extra special on Era could be pretty dangerous, same with Castellast, and with both forwards on the side of UCF getting like the second priority, we're going to see some interesting awakenings. However, we are seeing Paranor getting the Stagger Swagger, which is going to prove useful, keeps it away from the offensive side duo of Nas and Pewis, and this is a very interesting draft.
Yeah, it definitely is a pretty interesting draft here. Pewis to Nats looking for an opportunity, but I don't know. Like you said, it's I don't think it's going to be enough. Of course, they get two barriers here, but it's all about the damage right now.
Yeah, and something you did point out though in another in a previous game, the speed is a pretty big thing in this game, especially. And now Nats does have that big fish and peak performance, so we're seeing a lot of speed, a lot more than you really want the other teams in Taro to have, but it might just not be useful enough quite yet.
Yeah, and Viper sinks it in there for an easy first goal. Paranor, of course, so reliable in the midfield here, and with that Stagger Swagger, that additional speed like you were mentioning, is going to be a big difference maker. Of course, Nat's a little bit more tanky, but it needs to survive still because this damage is going to prevent the regen and slowly stack up.
Yeah, and I mean, Nats took a lot of damage, but they're not really going to be able to get killed too easily here. And so it's really just going to be about getting the core around, getting the core away from Nats, because if Nats is able to get the speed, Nats is going to stay alive unless they get caught by a stray hit off the side. And so it's really just a matter of who can take out the other team first and who can get the pressure going.
But I think there's one team that's been taking out the other a lot more reliably here, and it is indeed Auburn A. Pewis builds up the flip, and Viper finds themselves quite low on the bottom end, but Nats was staggered until just a little bit ago. Now a flip available for Pewis. Oh, Pewis, what a fake out with the bewitching beam, but it's not enough to get past Tiger Slasher, who has seen such tricks before. And now Paranor continuing to send the core forward, winning strike war after strike war in the midfield, keeping the core forward, but deflected away by the barrier beam once again.
Yeah, and I mean, the defensive plays from both of these sides have been super strong, super cool to see, but it doesn't matter quite enough as that core is going to go sliding past Tiger Slasher with the NATO to follow it up, and we're going to see UCF getting their points. They have a really good shot at bringing this game back from the 2-0, and I've been looking forward to maybe seeing it happen.
Absolutely. Nats one barrier down already. Pewis and Nats combining, and a strike war win. Awkward spot for Tiger Slasher, not big enough with the Among Titans to catch the core there. Big point for the UCF Rauds to try and keep themselves afloat in this game.
Super fast 11-second goal, and we're seeing just Pewis has that 150 stacks that they need in order to keep running, keep sprinting along through this field, and they're getting the first barrier as well for their troubles. And if they can just keep the pressure going, they have all the speed in the world. If they can just keep the pressure alive, it could be very useful.
Yeah, the key word there is alive, though, and with that KO, it's a big opportunity for the Auburn A squad here. Finding a perfect shot is Paranor, though. Perfectly down to the bottom barrier, doesn't get distracted by the defense, and now Pewis is so low. Viper finds the pickup on the pass. The awareness from all three members of Auburn right now is really coming through, but Nat's so massive. Tiger Slasher wins the interaction with the primary. Another KO comes through as well. And of course, that now goalie being able to make up that lack of size with the secondary is so useful here to take the Among Titans, to take the additional speed, give your team some size. And Viper's looking quite massive at the moment. A flip through, forcing out the flip from Diamond, and a perfect strike shot from Tiger Slasher as well to save the barrier.
Yeah, and I mean, UCF need to stay alive in order to win this, but we're seeing so much damage. Viper and Paranor working so well together to just knock out the offensive side of UCF, and we're seeing it kind of coming out in full force here. Both barriers are down for UCF, and we could see a goal here if UCF isn't too careful.
Tiger Slasher down to the bottom corner. The triangle disappears just in time, though, to prevent that core speed from continuing. Viper low, but Nat's even further low, staggered all the way. And if they can find one combo onto Nats, that could be a big striker advantage and maybe the point, maybe evening it up all the way. And Nats finally goes down. Viper with a great kill there on the bottom end. And now a passing play down to the Estelle. A blink forward. The barrier beam says no and takes the barrier on the other side. Viper now needs to find an opportunity, but it's deflected away once again. A flip available, deflected by Diamond. And Nats and Pewis are back, have a flip, and need to find something here before it gets out of control.
Yeah, and get out of control might be what happens here, because we are seeing Nats and Pewis having so much pressure on the other side, but in a reversal, the flip coming out, and then pushing it just straight to Viper on Crit, who wins the strike war with Diamond, gets it just straight around that Asher strike, and ties up the points. We could see the game end right here.
Yeah, this could be the end of the first game in very quick fashion and dominant fashion from Auburn A. Right now, both barriers taken, though. The UCF Rauds will not go down that easily. Pewis in the 1v1, an early strike, a dribble by Tiger Slasher. What a brilliant angle. The double dribble on the top end to make sure Pewis could not catch up with the core. And now Viper and Paranor are just fighting desperately to keep this point alive, to keep this set alive. A back pass perfectly timed by the Estelle as well, but Viper is so incredibly low right now. They need to take care of Nats as soon as possible before the Centauro can get in position. But Nats is staying alive just barely.
Yeah, and I mean, if Nats is able to stay alive, that's so much pressure that they can keep for themselves. However, Pewis, with the stacks on stacks, is doing such a great job of just, while Nats is getting bullied by Viper and Paranor, is able to just keep the core on the other team's side, just keep the pressure away from their side, and if Nats can get fully healed here, which Nats is unstaggered now, we might be able to see them score this point, win the set for themselves, and maybe get some scaling going.
The midfield's being clogged up, though. Tiger Slasher's having a very easy time because Paranor is just doing so much work. So much speed, though, forcing a flip out of Tiger Slasher. Dangerous spot to be in. The core speed slows down as well, but Pewis is so incredibly low. Nats' flip. That Centauro could end the set right now. Dribbling forward, a flip available to the top side, but Tiger Slasher predicts it. A flip available for Diamond. Doesn't even need it, passing up to Nats, who sinks it in despite the power play for Auburn A, and it will be another set in this game.
That was incredible, because with Pewis taken out there, that was all of the stacks on stacks. I think if the point had gone on any longer, if Diamond and Nats hadn't pushed it through there, that would have been, I think, game over. But in exchange, Nats is going to get that perfect form pickup, and we're also going to see 1-2 punch on Diamond, getting X off of their back maybe a little bit, and POS now has, or Nats now has all of the cooldowns that they could ever possibly want, in order to maybe stay alive and get the core into Tiger Slasher's net a bit easier.
But Paranoir has picked up that fighter flight, right? That additional speed is going to be overwhelming Tiger Slasher with the Monumentalist as well, and Viper picking up some size is looking so massive now. That's effectively 2 size awakenings and a half combined with the Among Titans as well, and that X will be such a menace that Diamond's going to have to deal with. Tiger Slasher, of course, as well in the midfield, going to have complete control of every lane.
Yeah, and I mean, Viper on crit has so much size, and I think it's going to come down to a lot of this set is going to be what Viper on crit can do. Just get it pushed through Diamond. Diamond has a bit more to work with that 1-2, maybe able to keep Viper away, make Viper stay a bit low, but I mean, hey, if Diamond can keep them away, it might be pretty big here.
Great defensive play, though, by Tiger Slasher, but that's a double KO. We've seen this story before, but this time Tiger has a barrier and a flip. Might be light work, but the barrier falls. 5 more seconds left, but bounced back by the Oni's Blade. The Monumentalist secondary doing a lot of work, and finally, Nats will win the strike war. But that's a valiant attempt. The respawns were just coming in. Shout out to Tiger Slasher.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger Slasher in that point was able to almost defend the first barrier, and then unfortunately just didn't have teammates up fast enough to save the core. But I mean, we saw them do it in a previous point, so it was a very close one. And now getting back in, we're already seeing so many cooldowns coming up from Tiger Slasher, maybe a couple saved ones, but it might not matter too much.
Yeah, great offensive push by the UCF Rauds. 2-0 up now and looking to send this to a set 5. It feels like they finally scaled. Perfect form Zentaro is just kind of crazy, and of course with the starting awakening being heavy impact, right? It's kind of ridiculous.
Yes, Nats has all of the cooldowns they can possibly want at this point, and now it's just up to whether or not they can get the kills, whether or not they can get the damage going, and have these cooldowns to get the core in the net. We're going to see there, uses the secondary, uses the flip, and then just pushes it straight through to take the set.
Very, very quick. All the tools they needed were on the board, and that 5th point might have been exactly the turning point of this game. The UCF Rauds clean sweep in this one, and the chance for even more in this draft. Honestly, I think that Nat should take the Catalyst here. I think, yeah, that's the Catalyst coming through. And I think that the UCF Rauds are in such a winning position after this.
I mean, this is pretty big. We're also going to see Diamond pick up Spark of Agility, Spark of Resilience, and then also Spark of Focus for their efforts here. I think the Super Surge onto POS isn't anything crazy. However, with that Catalyst, with that triple Spark for Diamond, this is going to be really dangerous for Auburn, and I mean, they might not be able to stop the storm that is UCF pulling up in this game.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that Nat saw the Catalyst there instead of going for a Dash Awakening. The Super Surge was also on the table, but I think that additional energy is going to be so much more useful. If they could stay alive here and use this flip for a barrier, then build up another flip and use it for the goal, that is basically the game plan for every single point of this last set.
Yeah, and we're seeing Nats able to stay alive so far. Diamond as well just has so much speed and so many cooldowns to keep the core away, and Nats with this damage is going to be able to get pretty close to taking out Viper.
Oh, but the issue is on the other end. Paranoir is taking a note of all the chaos and saying, well, all I need to do is score. Doing the Estelle game plan against Diamond. 2 barriers already down. Viper winning a strike war, but the barrier beam says no to all of that. And Diamond's built up a flip here. Nat's got to use this one and does get so much value, building up a power play and taking a barrier at the same time.
Yeah, and now all that matters is just getting it past this Tiger Slasher. We've seen it happen before. They were able to take out Tiger Slasher, and they're able to do it again. They open up the barrier. Now it's open barriers for both sides. And with that flip, we could see POS and Nats taking the core up and maybe getting some offensive pressure here.
especially with the brawler going down. A big flip for Pewis available now. A passing play up would do the trick, but it's being kept away quite well. Paranoir's gonna have to blink forward to help here, but it instead is a perfect angle from Pewis out of the reach of Tiger Slasher, and that's the first goal of the final set of this game.
Yeah, and now they're only 2 points away from winning this game for themselves, freeing themselves, and making the reverse 3-0. And right here, we see the first barrier go down, almost a second as well. And, I mean, Tiger Slasher, Viper, and Paranor were looking so strong, but now the tides have turned, and Nats and Pewis are having so much pressure and just are able to keep the core up and basically in Tiger Slasher's net.
Yeah, of course the damage is still there, right? But they need to capitalize off of it. They need to find these power plays. And so far, the UCF Rauds have survived so well. Nats, although being staggered, is still wiggling around, dodging these primaries, making sure the regen's going to come through, and barely surviving the bull rush as well. Staying away from Viper, just not enough speed. Finally pushed down to the bottom side of the field, and that's a really, really huge opportunity for Auburn A now.
Yeah, now Viper might have to use this flip. Never mind. Diamond uses the flip instead in order to keep the core away from the goal. And we're going to see Auburn try and make this next stand, get it through the infinite cooldowns, pretty much, of this side of UCF.
It's so dangerous, though. They were also on death's door as well. Dangerous spot. The snipe doesn't come through. And Pewis, bit of a missed opportunity there. Had the flip, sent it forward. Had a big chance. And Auburn, this is their one opportunity to score here. They need to... Oh, but what a flip from Pewis. Perfectly timed to the bottom end. And there's no way you're catching that in overtime. Auburn, A, now on the back foot for what feels like the first time in this entire game.
Yeah, I mean, that was an incredible flip, incredible setup from Pewis, just catching Tiger Slasher where they weren't able to cover. And now they're on match point in what looked like an unwinnable first part of the match. And I mean, if Nats can stay alive, if Pewis can stay alive and just keep this pressure flowing like they are doing so well, then we might just see the game end right here, right now.
Yeah, Nats and Pewis. Nats barely surviving, but barely is just enough at the moment. Not being taken out just yet. An accidental anti-synergy between Paranor and Viper means that the Zentaro gets to sneak away another time. A flip available for Tiger Slasher, gets it away for the moment. They need to find a conversion onto at least one player here, and that will be Nats going down. A big chance here for Auburn A, but they need to make sure Pewis does not survive.
Yeah, and we can see that Auburn has kind of shifted their focus a bit in this series, in this game. It's been less of just pushing the core through Diamond. Diamond has way too many cooldowns, way too many sparks. Now it's just kill the other team, get the other team off of my map. And you can see there, they win that first point for themselves with that power play.
That's the win condition. They are the team that has more damage than the other. As long as they don't get hit by the full Zentaro special, as long as they generally just take the initiative in the midfield, they should be fine. But right now it's Paranor who is low. It's one berry going down already, and Auburn needs to be careful.
Oh, incredible plays from Nats, almost taking out Paranor, but ultimately staying alive, which is a big win condition, as you just said, for Auburn. And if Nats is able to just stay alive, throw a few cooldowns here and there at the side of Auburn, they might just be able to get this score in the net, finish out this series, but we could also see the Auburn reverse 3-0 on points. Kind of a reversal, as they say.
Viper's going in there. So much burst damage onto Pewis. Trying to take out the era early, but there's so much speed in the NATO to zone away. Nats is low, but the flip available. Perfect primary from Tiger Slasher to make sure the core doesn't hit the net. And now the combos are coming through. Pewis almost off the map, and that's the barrier take. Looking clean from Auburn A as they maintain a barrier of their own. All it takes is one more snipe now, and Pewis is bell ringered off to pass up to Viper. And it's a final point to decide who's the victor of this game.
Set 5.5, game 1 here, and we're seeing Auburn figured out their win condition, and they're playing to it very effectively here. They're just keeping Nats and Pewis off of the stage as much as possible, and with Diamond not having very much movement, not much mobility, even with those triple sparks, we're gonna see them able to provide so much pressure, so much damage, and get the core just in the net as they have the past 2 points. And all it comes down to is if Pewis and Nats can get it through this defense of Auburn, or if they're gonna die too quickly.
But they're the ones finding the KO this time, and this is really bad for Auburn. They need these KOs. They need the striker advantages in their favor. And weathering the storm here is going to take a toll on Viper's health bar. Good flip by Tiger away and making sure no barriers are taken. Paranoir comes back, and Viper manages to sneak the barrier down. They don't even need the power play on their half. That's how they're playing, as Paranoir, desperate for an opportunity, blinks forward. And the regen comes through, the snipes come through, so many cooldowns being burned from the defense of the UCF Rauds as Paranoir walks up, finds a possession, finds another opportunity, but once again, it's stuck in the midfield as Nats and Pewis have so many cooldowns to play with. Almost a flip available for Pewis, and that could be a huge threat here. A flip early, though, is too easy to defend, and Viper's the one who catches it on the bottom end, hitting the core again and again in the forward direction, and finally a snipe from the Estelle. Paranoir will do it. Auburn A will escape this nightmare of a final point.
That was a heart-wrenching first game in this series. If that was just the first game, I'm excited to see what the second one was. At first, it looked really, really strong in favor of Auburn A. And then in set 3, we saw UCF just find out what they needed to do in order to get this core in the net. And, I mean, that just... that was pretty crazy. And they almost got the reversal as well. They went 2-0 up in that 5th set as well, but Auburn A figured out their win condition and just got that first game in the bag.
Yeah, and really shout out to both forward pairs. I think we went into this game expecting greatness from both the goalies, but the forward pairs on both teams were so on point. They had that exact win condition heading in, and they both almost achieved it, right? It was set 5.5, almost a comeback, almost a reverse sweep, but in the end, it was Paranoir who got it done with the snipe. And it really showed the two different types of game plans they had, right? Of course, the UCF Rauds, a little bit less conventional, I would say. Picking the arrow with the Centauro is something we don't see that often. But a lot of that is also just going back to comfort, right? The character that you're best at is probably better than someone being uncomfortable on the theoretical better character.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a character that you're comfortable on, doesn't matter if it's in meta, doesn't matter if it's not in meta. I mean, hey, we saw all of the players in this game performing super well. Just some highlights in terms of stats as well. I might say Tiger Slasher had 348 strikes on that core. Diamond had 202 saves. And Viper on crit had 75,500 damage throughout that game. We saw so many strikes just back and forth. It was a half-hour game, almost 31 minutes. And, I mean, cinema. That's about all I can say. That was such a good match, such a great match to start off this. And, oh my gosh. That was crazy.
Yeah, but there might be 2 more games after this one, or there could be 1, but we're guaranteed more Omega Strikers to watch. And next up is AtLab. That is the classic map. That is the map that you see most often in Omega Strikers for a reason. But it's also slightly more conducive to damage, so you might favor Auburn A little bit more here.
I think so. I mean, Auburn had some really great damage in that first game, but I'm interested to see the drafting here. We don't know the starting awakenings yet, or at least I don't. Sai, you might have some powers, otherworldly powers.
Boom!
Now,
Aerials and built different.
It's aerials and built different. So, I mean, it just might be a damage-based pick here. And I mean, on that Atlas lab as well, with that big black hole in the middle, it's gonna be really dangerous if the rods cannot stay alive. They might have to play damage themselves. They might have to try and pull something out. They got a lot of kills. They were able to get 9 kills in that last game, but in comparison to it was, I think, 17 kills from Auburn A here. It might be a little scary with that black hole. That's not going to be doing anybody any favors. Same with that built different on start.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be an easy game to pilot for both teams, and with the aerial start as well, that's going to give that additional speed. That's going to make it a little uncomfortable for both the goalies. I did like Tiger Slasher's now pick. Although it was uncomfortable at times due to the Among Titans, especially making those strike wars a little bit difficult. I think Tiger navigated a lot of the situations incredibly well, had very, very good awareness of how to play out the situations, and just avoided strike wars most of the time by following up with a primary or just secondarying before the core could even reach them.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that you like to see on those ranged goalies, especially. We saw it in this game. Tiger Slasher just kept the core away from the other team. Like if the core, if Peewis and Nats were walking forward with it, Tiger used a primary, used a secondary, just push it through the offensive of the rods. But we did also see, like in the previous series as well, that Luna from Rebirth or from Judgmental was able to just you hit the core away with a secondary with a primary, and it goes to your forwards, and you don't have a whole lot that you need to do. And so at some point, if yeah, say as I'm seeing in chat, if you can't lose the strike war if the core isn't there. Thank you, Fox and Socks.
Yeah, and Fox and Sox would know a lot about that, being a South American player who plays in North American tournaments. Not having to take a strike or is definitely very, very important. And of course, it's important for every goalie. As we see the picks come in, the picks and bans are now taken away by the UCF Rauds, knowing the power of that pick as a flex pick as well. But no flexes here. It will be the Estelle as the midfield for Auburn A, and an Asher that could be flexed here.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're just gonna see that Estelle midfield on Paranor, and yeah, definitely. As you said, that Asher can definitely be flexed, whether it is on Viper or Tiger Slasher. I know Tiger, typically from what I've seen, they're more defensive of a goalie, but pretty soon here we'll figure out what this final pick is going to be for Auburn. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, in fact, one of those more defensive goalies, or if it's actually just a flex pick, it's a forward. Ooh, this
Oh,
is
okay. Well,
interesting.
Tiger Slasher has wanted to play the eject button IME quite a bit, so this is most likely what is occurring here. Definitely not bad on the pick, right? Of course, not what you expect as much from Tiger Slasher as a player, but like that guy is not bad on it at all. Like the reason I'm saying this is because, of course, we usually see Tiger on the melee goalies, but I think this kind of agency could be good. On the other end, though, we're seeing a bit of a meta composition, right? Juliet currently probably the best brawler in the game, combined with Now, who is probably the best midfielder in the game, combined with Atlas, where melee goalies are in the meta at the moment. So, a bit of whiplash compared to the previous comp, because the previous comp was a little wacky from the rods. This time, no wackiness in sight.
Yeah, I mean the era midfield, it's a midfield character, but you don't really see it a whole lot often. Now we got the now midfield, just another uh, creation oriented character, team buff oriented character. But now is actually in the meta. Now is one of the most common characters I see in solo queue. So this character is going to hopefully be able to do a whole lot more. Once again, though, they're not really going damage. I don't think either of these teams are really damage heavy. So it should be pretty interesting here with that build different. I'm interested in seeing how Auburn A might be twisting this into a damage comp, and it was. Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah, but the thing with this kind of draft, though, is that I think the UCF Rods have a higher chance to actually do the damage because they're the ones who have the double healing, right? They have the defensive resources, making it hard for the other side to be the ones KOing. And of course, Juliet dealing quite a decent bit of damage. Atlas, actually, a character that does quite a bit of damage as well against especially the enemy brawler when they're pushing up in the corner. So I'm actually a little bit concerned for Auburn A's survivability in this one.
Yeah, definitely. I think both teams piloted the damage very effectively in the previous game, but Auburn A managed to pull it out. And now this game, we are seeing double healer as well, which I mean, at some point, now and Atlas working together, you're not really going to die a whole lot, and if you do, that's kind of a skill issue, but if you can stay alive, if you can just deal the damage, you have plenty in order to just take out Auburn. And ooh, this is going to be very interesting. We could see a very big shift in the way this game plays out from the last one.
Absolutely. It's going to be up to Tiger Slasher to be more precise than ever, because the jet goalies are not meta right now for a reason. But when piloted well, like we saw with Judgmental, if the possession can be kept up, if the team can keep the core on the other half of the map, they can prove to be a very, very welcome addition to the offense here.
Yeah, and as much as I hate the melee goalie meta, Diamond is going to be sitting pretty here with the Atlas goalie. Doesn't really matter what you have. Built different, more strikes, bigger strikes. Love to see it. And, I mean, if they're able to hold it down, just keep the core away pretty quickly, you're going to see a big difference in this game compared to the last one.
Absolutely, and with Pua speeding Nats up, they're going to be running forward quite well. Viper, a little bit too far in the corner for that one, as Nats helps out, creates a power play, and a Sad Boys angle prevents the second barrier from going down. It was a great idea by Paranoir, but it didn't end up panning out. But Tiger Slasher, as expected from one of those higher ranked goalies, will be winning those strike wars.
Yeah, and I mean, Tiger Slasher, with the offensive goalie, the more eject button oriented ones, you definitely want to be playing and striking as well as physically possible, because you don't have as many abilities, you don't have creations like those melee oriented goalies. But just like that, we're gonna be able to see you're not really gonna be able to press an ability and just get it past the forwards. You're gonna have to kind of lock in, you're gonna have to evade strike, you're gonna have to play a whole lot more effectively if you want to pull off one of these offensive eject range goalies.
Oh, and 2 barriers go down. But funnily enough, in the previous point, actually, that was actually a situation where he shouldn't have evaded, because the evade actually slowed down Tiger, so he couldn't reach the core in time to get anything done. So if he had walked up and recognized the situation and just walked up to the core and struck it downwards, there was a chance that could have been saved against the Julie there. But that's pretty hard to gauge in the moment. Like that is like CCL winning goalie level of awareness, and Tiger could do it. This team is looking quite solid, but that's definitely a large ask.
Yeah, and another large ask might be staying alive here as we see Juliet, Nats 18 taken off of the map. However, I'm seeing some really great defense coming out from Puis and Diamond, taking Viper and Crit very low, but unfortunately they're not going to be able to keep the barrier up for too long.
And we see the value of the eject button. Tiger Slasher flying in with the extended dash range. 1-1 now, and those kinds of points are where you're thankful for that eject button goalie.
Yeah, and I might add that eject button and aerial start especially, is with Aimee, it's going to be super useful on both Paranoir and Tiger Slasher. You have so much more, such a long dash range at this point, and you're going to be able to play up a whole lot more.
Yeah, but that's a good combo onto the Brawler. That's a Viper going down already as Nats pushes forward, looks for a dash punch angle, looks for a punch to cover, but Tiger Slasher with the patience to make sure the core isn't stuck in the corner once again. And now it's possession for the side of Auburn. Viper getting the rebounds off the center. Tiger Slasher dropping into help, and the pass splitter is perfect. The barrier taken. Amazing offense by Auburn. They're looking so coordinated.
Yeah, if your pressure is good enough, you can just strike through those melee goalies, and if you get those Sad Boys angles, you might not need the strikes. You can just get it through, and Paranoir with that primary going to push it straight through the defensive side of UCF.
Right to the bottom corner it goes, and once again, it's looking good for Auburn here, as a lot of meters been built up as well. They have a slight energy advantage, and of course setting the core in center between the two at-lab barriers makes it such a dangerous spot. Diamond being a little overwhelmed by the Asher and Estelle pressure. So many hitboxes in the goal, and that's a set win for Auburn.
Yeah, and I mean, that pressure coming out, the Estelle and Asher, it's a bit like Estelle and Rasmus, except you don't have nearly as much range on that Brawler. But if you can get it to the Asher with Paranoir, you're going to be able to push the core in super easily, even with such a melee-oriented goalie like Atlas here. you're going to be able to just push the core through, and that's what we saw. Some interesting picks as well here. What do you think, Saya?
Yeah, I think the heavy impact was partially denied against the Julie, but since Tiger Slasher opted for the Spark of Resilience, it doesn't end up being a full deny. Of course, the Spark of Resilience being taken is so important in this draft, but Stagger Swagger still goes to Peewis. I think there's a lot of like good ideas in this draft, but there was too many good awakenings for anything to really be denied here, because Diamond also gets perfect form. Like, what is this draft? Every good awakening in the game except peak performance?
I mean, I think just the side of UCF, even though that they lost that first set, they definitely won that draft. They got 1-2 punch, they got Stagger Swagger, they got perfect form, as you said. And if they're able to just use those awakenings to their full potential, they're going to be able to just keep this game, maybe get a reverse 3-0, or just reverse the game right now, finish it off, and take these barriers as we're seeing right here.
Yeah, Viper and Paranoir pushing forward, trying to find pressure onto Nats here as Tiger sends it forward. Viper with a pass splitter set up, but a little bit too aggressive, I think. A little bit too much of a forward angle instead of keeping the core contained. And a good strike shot by Diamond to save that one. The Crystal Thorns making it dangerous as Viper goes in. Not enough hitboxes to cover the entire duration of the flip. And the Brawler will go down. Tiger making the save for now. Trying to stall out the point as Peewis kind of sets it up for Tiger. But the core speed's too much. The 1-2 punch from Nats in overtime is perfect and will secure that.
Yeah, and I mean, we are seeing some of this comp coming out from UCF. They're going to be able to control the core a lot more, and if Nats is able to get one of those stray dash punches in, it's basically just game over. You don't have nearly as much core control as you'd like, and if UCF is able to get one of those kills, you're automatically just put in a really bad scenario against Nats.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern, but right now, Viper surviving the dash punch, kind of ineffective in that particular moment, but Tiger burning the flip in the corner, and now in a really tough spot because Nats built up a flip already here. It's flipped away by Paranoir, but the core speed's too much. Perfect setup by Peewis, but the flip goes wide. A lot of wasted flips in this one, but Nats, that's not a wasted flip. KOs Tiger into the back of the net, gets priority on the core, and it's a 2-0 lead in the set for the UCF Rauds.
Yeah, I'm seeing Auburn try what they did in the previous game that let them win, and that's just focus all their damage onto Nats. But with a comp like Alice, and now you're going to be able to see a lot more staying alive happening, but it might not be necessary if Viper and Paranoir are able to just push the core right through Diamond.
Oh, missed strike there in a dangerous spot. Nats pushing the Estelle away is perfect. And oh, Tiger Slasher overcommitting on the strike war upwards. That means an opportunity for the UCF Rauds. Nats pushing forward. The Flame Flurry good. The barrier taken. And the punch to get priority once again. Flip available for Viper down to the bottom side. Peewis covers. But Paranoir is there. Finds the Crystal Thorns and finds a point for Auburn.
Yeah, and I mean, Auburn just able to provide a lot of pressure, just kept the core forward, and I mean that's really all you need to do with Asher. If you can use those abilities precisely, you can just push the core right through Diamond on that Atlas. But right here we're gonna see Sad Boys before it goes straight back into the barrier, and then yeah, now we're getting into some more meat of the game.
Continuing to push forward here. Tiger Slasher tries to find a clear through, but it's a strike war win by Nats taking the barrier. Tiger, they need this barrier now, but Diamond manages to save it. The Atlas paying dividends, and now a flip built up, so it's going to be even harder to secure that one. Tiger, though, with a strike discipline, keeps the core away, and now Diamond in a tough spot. Doesn't want to burn the flip too early, but Nats catches Viper a little too vulnerable near the top wall. And with the Juliet having flip, it is looking quite doomed for Auburn A here. Finds the flip on the very edge and will secure it there. The game's all tied up.
You didn't need that catalyst from the last game, but you don't need it now either, as Nats 18 is going to push that core through using that core flip. And now they're going to be rewarded with what looks like a pretty bad draft for Juliet. Unless, of course, you get that peak performance, have so much more speed, have so much stagger, and also block that stagger away from the side of Auburn. We're also going to see some spark pickup from Tiger Slasher. That's 2 sparks now on the board. I'm not sure if we already had the 4th spark, but there's 1 more spark here in the game. And if Tiger is able to pick that up, they might be able to do something like Diamond did in the previous game. But These awakenings are pretty interesting here, and I'm not sure who's gonna win now.
Yeah, but I do like the pickups from the UCF Rauds once again. I think they have what they need. I think Nats getting the peak performance makes it even more difficult for Auburn to get any sort of a game plan rolling.
Yeah, definitely. And with Nats and Pewis just pushing the core through, they might be able to take a goal, but instead we're going to see Viper. Just so much pressure, that big size with Viper from that Among Titans on Paranor is going to be able to get that core through.
All right, going for another point here. Viper looking very, very massive. This Asher needs to be the difference maker here in the 1v1s against the Atlas. And with Tiger calmly playing the backfield, pushing forward, that's a barrier taken already, and Viper stays alive despite the corner pressure coming back from the UCF Rauds. Auburn big opportunity. They cannot waste this one, and it goes to Viper. Dribble to the top side, but a little bit too hasty against the expanse, and Nats going for a double barrier angle, only finds one. Tiger Slasher now finds an opening, but it's deflected away by Nats, who almost gets a KO again. And as the core goes round and round, it's picked up by Pewis with the flip, and it goes off the bottom wall as well. That's not the angle that Tiger Slasher wanted, and it will cause offense for Nats, but they cleared away with the barrier still intact. Tiger Slasher and Paranor trying to get the Viper desperately, but they cannot find the goal just yet.
Yeah, and these dash punches from Nats are proving to be crucial, as all that pressure that Paranor was able to build up is now gone, as Paranor taken off the map. And we're going to see Nats and Pewis working together, just trying to get this core in the net through Tiger Slasher. And with that passing play, they're going to push it in and tie up this set.
That's the fear, right? Nats can take over the game. Nats has already taken over the game. So if things go as expected, it will be the UCF Rauds continuing to put the pressure on. Viper needs to play in these corners to get full effectiveness. But if you play in the corner, there's the dash punch. Exactly as expected from the Juliet.
Yeah, and every time I'm seeing Nats get a dash punch done, I'm seeing some instant pressure and just so much power coming out from the side of UCF Rauds. And they were able to get that first barrier on Tiger Slasher's defense, and now here they're setting up really well to get that second barrier. As soon as one of those dash punches rings true, we're going to see so much pressure, and Tiger Slasher and Paranor are immediately put on their back foot every time one happens.
All right, looking for another opportunity in the top corner now as Tiger Slasher goes in, Paranor through, but Viper trying to win a strike war, doesn't have the resources to take the barrier there, and with Diamond having a flip, that's going to delay the barrier take even longer as Pewis pushes forward, sets up the primary, forces Tiger Slasher to defuse it, and once again the offense stalls for Auburn They find a passing play, but once again Viper can't get it through Diamond.
Yeah, and they just have to use their characters wisely. And right now we're seeing Pewis and Nats with so much pressure. Tiger Slasher unfortunately doesn't get quite the angle they wanted, and it goes straight to Pewis, who has an open net up top, scoring that second goal for themselves in this set, and putting themselves on set point where they have more opportunities to scale and more opportunities to turn this game in their favor even further.
Good pass splitter though, takes one barrier. Oh, but a dash punch flip, perfect from Nats. But a great glitch bot from Tiger Slasher to maybe even up this set. Maybe hold on just a little bit longer. Good strike wars, but the barrier will still fall because Pewis and Nats are just too fast. They have so much presence on the map. And now Nats is looking for a dash punch here. Pewis so much speed. Doesn't get dash punch on the bottom edge either. Still surviving is the midfielder of the UCF Rauds. And once again, Auburn in so much trouble.
Yeah, and if they can just keep these strike wars going, if they can keep it into Tiger Slasher's goal, they're going to be able to get some saves going. And oh my gosh, the dash punch rings out once more as we're going to see a power play for what feels like the fifth time this point.
Yeah, and Nats looking for the final dash punch of this set, but it's actually overcommitment from Diamond. Perfectly sniped by Paranor, but that was not the place to primary there for the Atlas. We're now at a 0.5, and Auburn they need to be breathing sighs of relief here because that's their ticket back into the game.
Yeah, but they can't breathe sighs of relief too quickly as Nats takes out Oh,
All 4 barriers. Nats took all 4 barriers, and now Paranor recovers first, is trying to take the point. A 4 barrier and a KO with 1 dash punch in interaction, and now Tiger Slasher on the bottom end. Diamond in trouble, and thanks to Nats, partially, it will be Auburn A winning the point and winning the set.
oh my god. That was looking so, like, such a strong, just explosive entrance coming into that point from the side of UCF Rauds. And then they lost the double barrier as well. They let the greed get to them too quickly, and we're gonna see Auburn taking that set in return. But we are going to see the Big Fish and the Fight or Flight coming out for Now and Juliet on the side of UCF, which is going to be very, very good here in this set, because we already see peak performance on Nats, plus that Big Fish is going to give both more size and more stagger, which is going to prove really important. That's what they've been doing in order to win so far and get these points going, and if they're able to play it to that win condition so much better, we're going to take every chance they can get.
Yeah, even though it was Auburn A who were the ones who won the set, the draft definitely in the favor of the UCF Rauds, and that's continuing the trend, continuing the KOs, picked up a little bit more speed there thanks to the peak performance scaling with the Big Fish, and it's just constantly taking over the map. Tiger Slash has got to watch out as well on a lot of these blink plays thanks to the Juliet being everywhere all at once. Viper desperately trying to push up into the corner, but it's so dangerous. Tiger barely keeping the barrier alive, but the question is for how much longer?
Yeah, and Diamond on the other side is able to keep that barrier alive, so much so that they force Viper into a bad scenario, end up getting the kill with the dash punch as usual from Nats. And we will see, however, that barrier falling for UCF, and we're seeing a pretty scary point here for both sides, but the pressure is just too much.
Just too much. The KO found once again, and that's on such a long KO streak now, and a clean end to the point as well. UCF, they feel like they should have won that last set, right? They're just trying to take it back.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really dangerous for them, because with Auburn already up by 1 game, they need a total of 3 points to move on and win this series. But POS and Diamond working really hard, just keeping the core as much as possible, trying to keep it out of their net. And I mean, if they can, it's gonna be pretty important.
Oh, but Viper so massive, winning the Strike Wars. Not that time though, but this time Viper does once again, and that will be the set being evened up 2 goals away for Auburn A. And I think they would like to be done with this game, because the builds on the UCF Rods are a little bit scary.
Yeah, and after that first half-hour match, set 5.5, you're going to be trying to get to bed pretty quickly here. You don't want this game to go on any further, and Auburn is just going to be trying to close this out as soon as possible. They have lost a barrier though, but they take one in return, and they're gonna try and maybe get this game back in their favor.
Viper dribbling on the top side. Flip almost available here, and the pass splitter should build it up just enough. It indeed does, but no good spot to use it here. Needs to evade to avoid getting dash punch, but a great snipe by Paranoir. And once again, the Estelle does it all. Ended the first game, looking to build up towards the second as well. And what a great flip out from Diamond to stop it for the moment. But the agency is currently in the hands of Auburn A. A flip from the bottom side. Nats deflects it with so much speed, so much size. And this Asher is not long for this world. Viper's got to retreat, help out on the defense a little bit. As Paranor and Tiger are in there, they can't quite get a clean push though. And Nats has flip. And that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, if you have flip with that sort of scenario, you're just going to push that in. Tiger Slasher didn't have any cooldowns from the looks of it, so hey, nice, quick, easy goal for UCF, except it wasn't really. It was a full overtime point, and we're going to see, I mean, Nats has been playing super well, getting so many dash punches. I'm excited to see the number of kills at the end of this game.
That was almost a double KO. I stole your words right there, because Tiger Slasher blinked back. It looked like a double KO for a moment. It almost was, and now Nats pushing forward. Paranor in a little bit of trouble in this midfield, but the respawn coming in. I think Auburn, they're recovering a little bit here. They just need to not get KO'd again, and Viper's so low. Wait a second, P with so much speed up to Nats. The perfect passing play, the 1-2 with no hesitation, and we're headed to a set 5.
We're going to yet another set 5 game, and UCF really wants to win this here. If they win this game, they're going to be able to take it to a game 3, keep the series going, maybe go to another 30-minute game, as we saw with the last one, as we might see here with this one. However, we are going to see the Spark of Focus deny coming out for Nats. No crazy awakening there in order to prevent Tiger Slasher from getting anything crazy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Viper's kind of going to be cursed with not too great of an awakening here. The dash range could prove to be a downside in some of these situations, but the additional impact will definitely come into play, maybe. I think I would prefer the Super Surge a tiny bit, but it's really, really whatever. I think my eyes are on Paranor, who has heavy impact, hot shot, and rapid fire. Those primaries are going to get so much cooldown refunded from them. But again, Viper this time evading quite well, and that evade might have just turned the entire point. Viper not going down in the corner despite being forced to play in the corner, as the Asher game plan is huge when Nats can't get the free KO.
Yeah, and I mean, if Viper can stay alive, not get dash punch off of these sides, unfortunately Asher's whole game plan is just force it through in the corner. Oh! But if Viper is able to stay alive, then this could prove fatal for UCF.
Oh, overcommits into the expanse there, but still staying alive is Viper, and that's exactly what they need. They send it around, though, Pewis with an early flip, and I think Tiger Slasher will be way too happy about that one because Paranor is working on one, and Nats gets a little bit aggressive. Viper, on the other hand, has already set up the path splitter and gets it done on the other end. Auburn, they look like they know exactly how to win this game.
Yeah, and Viper was able to evade that dash punch from Nats. And, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world, because when you evade the dash punch, that's a dash punch that Nats doesn't have, and that is about, I think, 15, 20 seconds that you don't have to worry about dash punch for a while. And, I mean, with Viper now having flip, we're going to see another scary moment, but they're able to stay alive once more.
Yeah, and Viper's being chipped down low. Flip, but surviving this time. The angle wasn't quite right, and now Pewis is low, too. Auburn, on the right side of that coin flip. And with Viper regenerating just in time, and Tiger Slasher combined play. What a pass from Paranor with the snipe into Tiger Slasher's cyber swipe, and they're 1 point away from closing this one out.
Auburn wants to end this here. They don't want another half-hour long match, and they certainly don't want to happen to them what they did in the previous game with that reverse 3-0 in the set 5. But any of these things could happen here, and we're just trying to see whether or not they're going to be able to make this final point happen.
Good awareness from Tiger Slasher, saving the strike, getting the barrier to stay alive here, but this time it's a little bit too difficult as Nats finds a good punch around. Paranor and Viper looking to contain the core on one side, and the path splitter is just a little bit too late, but it's actually Tiger Slasher who gets in there, the power of the eject button coming through, but it's an open net. The passing play is interrupted this time by Paranor and Tiger Slasher, and they're cutting the pass this time a lot better than last time, not getting surprised by the high-speed passing plays, but Tiger Slasher a bit of overshooting, still has the flip, but it's this time the Estelle going down, a flip away, but the Flame Flurry, and that will be good coverage to take the point for the UCF Rauds.
Yeah, using that ult, using the Flame Flurry on the core flip especially, is really good awareness from Nats. Just force Tiger Slasher into a... Do you either try and predict where this is going, or the core goes in, and the second one did in fact end up happening, and now we are seeing UCF with a bit more life in this game!
But a Sad Boy's angle prevents that revival from fully occurring right now. That could have been a huge double barrier, and right now Viper's trying to make it so, but a great pass by Diamond out of there with the flip, and Tiger Slasher, dangerous strike situation, saves the barrier again. Tiger Slasher, the range goalie, gets it done in the corner, and once again, it's all up to the passing play. They need to get to Viper right now to take the barrier, to take the goal, to end this game, but it's easier said than done, but maybe it is that easy. Viper with a flip available, path splitter, flip, Flame Flurry deflects it, and once again, it needs to go around the world, but Nats burns the dash. That's a 16-second cooldown with no cooldown reducers, and now Nats finds the barrier. So much speed from Peewis, but Tiger Slasher preempts. And now it's a Viper 1v1. Takes out the goalie. It's a 3v2 now. All it takes is one passing play. Paranor has flipped. So much damage down. They need to pass it up to the Estelle. And the strike war at the end will do it. Auburn A will close out the game.
Oh my gosh. That was insane. Incredible hold from Peewis and Nats at the end there. But unfortunately, they just couldn't keep the core away. And that is going to close out the game and the series. Such an incredible game. Both of these, even though Auburn won 2-0, it was a set five, and we went to point 5 and point 4. So, I mean, that was just about as close as I ever want a game to go. And I mean, that was another 24 and a half minutes. I mean, that lasted forever, and that was such a fun match to watch. There was so much happening. I mean, just like the last one, that was cinema.
Yeah, well played from Auburn A, but yeah, that was such a close game. I think both these teams are absolutely going to make playoffs, and that was a playoff caliber matchup we just watched. I'm looking forward to how they do in the rest of the season, looking forward to their performances in the postseason. Anything else left to say, Potat? That was great.
I mean, I don't think I got anything else other than I mean, I want to shout out all of the players, because that was, I mean, my heart was racing and I wasn't even playing in the game. And I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was super fun. Good job to Auburn, and I mean, UCF. Hey, you got more? Keep it going.
Right, but with that, that's the end of this series. Don't go anywhere. There's still one more Auburn match left, but not this team. They're versus the NJIT Lowlanders. Not the team that most people think when they think NJIT. But this should be a good match, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and we'll see you soon.